Tuesday, a busy, super busy Tuesday, starting with breaking news out of the Caribbean and out of California, and also Lori Vallow. Who knew that there was going to be all this breaking news happening? Let me start right here with the missing girl down in the Dominican Republic. So there are so many stories and so many theories flying around about how Siddiqua Konanki disappeared, because we're now going into day 6. And this beautiful young woman should not be missing and is, and kids are getting interviewed and police are saying things, and maybe it is an issue with communication, or it may be an issue with translation. It might be an issue with too many cooks or not enough cooks. But we have this new surveillance video, and this new surveillance video shows a lot. It shows some drunk kids, 6 of them in total, heading out for the beach. That is Siddiqua in the front with the guy who looks like he is taking a selfie video, and they don't look very steady. They are struggling to stay upright. This is only hours before no one saw Siddiqua again. I have a lot of this video, and I'm going to play more of it this program as well. An FBI agent who did this for a living is going to tell us what it is he sees and what it is he doesn't see. All of the above. And also, we're going to find out from the Natalie Holloway investigator what red flags he sees in these videos. All that is ahead. Plus, Lori Vallow was in court today. And folks, I'm sorry, but when somebody who is deemed incompetent to stand trial suddenly becomes her own lawyer, there's no other way to describe it than spectacle. Look, she might not have been stark raving mad and saying crazy things one after the other and waving her arms and, hands and that. But the truth of the matter is the things she is doing don't quite seem to comport with someone who needs to defend herself against 2 more murder trials. Today she made demands that she didn't want us, you, me, cameras covering her trial. You remember where we live, right? Like America, where our justice is open. We don't hood people, throw them in a gulag, never to be seen again. We don't have secret justice, secret judges. We don't have secret juries. It's why they come to America, right? It's why this place is great. We are an open society. We don't do things to people in secret. We don't lock them away in secret. So for Lori Vallow to say, I don't want cameras in the courtroom, why? What exactly does the camera do to your jurisprudence? What exactly is the reason? Well, I've got the judge's rationale and also some choice decision-making and a few things that might just be driving Lori mad. That's all coming up. And I'm not a pickleball fan. I'm sorry, please, careful. I know you all are, at least so many of you are. I just never took to pickleball. But man, is it ever wildfire. And you're asking me, Ashleigh, this is a true crime show. Why are you talking about pickleball? Well, when pickleball comes into my true crime sphere, I talk pickleball. And when true crime crosses Scott Peterson and pickleball in his max security prison, that makes it on my show. What does Scott Peterson have to do with pickleball? Let me just say he's injured, and it's not a sports injury. And yes, he is still in prison. All that ahead. I've got the explanations, I got the pictures, I got the videos. It's all coming straight ahead. I want to start here, though. For 6 days, a frantic search has been underway for a University of Pittsburgh pre-med student who just vanished in the Dominican Republic. If you were here with us last night, you know the resort where Siddiqua Konanki and 5 of her girlfriends were staying for their spring break was more of a nightmare than a dream vacation spot. And by the way, that nightmare began long before Siddiqua went missing. The Rio Republica resort seemed to be in complete meltdown mode. Electricity, water, Wi-Fi, that was all spotty at best. Witnesses say the linens reeked of vomit and that the food and drinks were terrible. Air conditioning and electronic key cards were not working, and that forced many guests to sleep in the lobby or outside on the beach. But you know what was working? The hotel's surveillance cameras. Booyah. Because we now have the last images of Siddiqua and 5 other people, 3 women and 2 men, coming into the hotel's lobby area where they spent some time the night before she disappeared, and they were drinking. They are all seen in a group of 6. They're walking together. Look closely. Sudiksha is seen in the back of the group. She has her arm wrapped around one of the men in the group, and his arm is wrapped around her. And they walk into the hotel. And then the next clip shows the group of 6 walking out of the hotel towards the beach. But now they're walking separately and a little unsteady. This was about 4:15 in the morning last Thursday. And by this point in the evening, they have kind of started to separate a bit. One of Sudiksha's friends has paired off with the second man in the group. And behind them, Sudiksha is following and still walking arm in arm with the man that she's met. Her companion looks like he's holding a cell phone at one point. He's got the cell phone up in the air. At least it looks like a cell phone. We can't tell for sure, but it sure looks like it's a selfie video. They might be filming that as they're walking together. Again, they both appear unsteady and they are stumbling. Behind Sudiksha, the 2 other girlfriends are following along. We're going to slow that video down so that you can try to get a better look at it. But it's clear that Sudiksha here has paired off with this man who's wearing the muscle shirt with the bare arms. The 2 girls behind her, they're together. And then the other girlfriend has joined the second man in the group. And this is where they're all heading out towards the beach. So the next video is important because it shows 4 members of this group of 6 returning to the hotel. This is somewhere around 6 a.m. here. The 2 girls coming back by themselves. But Sudiksha and her companion are not among this group. Here's the other girl coming back with the second man, right? And here is another video at 10 a.m., 4 hours later. That guy, all by himself, shirtless, shoeless, alone. He returns alone, but Sudiksha doesn't. There he is walking in. Again, this is 4 hours after the others have returned. He's coming back, no shirt, no shoes. He had the shoes on before. He had the shirt on before. But he's shoeless and he's alone. When Sudiksha's friends still hadn't heard from her, by 4 p.m. that afternoon, they decided it was time to report her missing. And the search has now become a multinational affair. Last night on this program, we learned from the sheriff of Sudiksha's home county in Virginia that the FBI is now assisting the Dominican authorities. And because Sudiksha is an Indian citizen, the Indian embassy is involved as well. So far, the only sign of the missing student that anyone has turned up is her sarong that was left on a lounge chair. And as for that male companion, the last person known to have seen her, he told the police that the 2 of them had gone for a swim in the ocean, but that he came out before she did. She said that, he said to the police that he threw up and then passed out on one of the lounge chairs, and that when he woke up, she had left. For now, they do not call him a suspect. None of the authorities call this young man a suspect. And the local police say they're convinced that Sudiksha drowned. The water was extremely rough. The red flags were up. We saw video of the ocean roiling at the shore. Her parents, though, they're not convinced that she drowned. They fear that she may have been kidnapped or trafficked or maybe worse. And if all of this seems familiar, you're probably thinking of Natalie Holloway, another young woman on a school trip to an island paradise from which she did not return. In that case, it was Aruba. And we now know that Natalie was murdered after a night out drinking with a young man that she had just met. Tonight, a private investigator who spent 18 years on that case is offering to help Sudiksha's family. He, too, does not believe that she drowned. And that man's name is TJ Ward, and he is live with me next.
5 years, the MDA community has pushed the science,
shifted the narrative,
and established the field of neuromuscular medicine.
And until that day when this is all a thing of the past,
you couldn't stop us if you tried.
Join us and celebrate 75 years of breakthroughs at MDA75.org.
My name is DeMar Hamlin. I play for the Buffalo Bills, and I play safety. CPR saved my life. I've teamed up with the American Heart Association as a national ambassador to help create a nation of lifesavers, turning bystanders into lifesavers. through CPR education and access to AEDs. Nearly 3 out of 4 cardiac arrests that don't happen in hospitals happen in homes. Join me to ensure everyone has the chance to live longer, healthier lives. Visit heart.org/nation.
Midday plans?
Why, something the matter?
Why not spend it with Antenna TV, your home for classic comedy all day and all night?
What a marvelous idea.
Dennis the Menace.
Jeepers.
Hazel.
Holy smoke.
The Facts of Life.
Isn't life wonderful?
I Dream of Jeannie and Bewitched.
I love it.
Just a sample of the great comedies every day on
TV, how it was meant to be. Antenna TV.
Ever lose your keys? Is that normal aging, dementia, or something else? Fear often stops us from asking for a simple checkup from the neck up. Knowing your numbers, blood pressure, blood sugar, and cholesterol are common, but your cognitive numbers are also important. Request our free guide. It's filled with tips for better brain health, facts about dementia, and much more. Go to 1-800-DEMENTIA.org or call 1-800-DEMENTIA. Your brain will thank you.
Yeah, that thing. Someone made it a thing way back in the day. But where did it come from? And how did it get all the way to you? Curious? Ancestry can help you find out with detailed DNA results and inspiring family history memberships. What are you waiting for? A sale? Well, lucky you.
TJ Ward worked for 18 years on the Natalie Holloway case. And when news about Sadiq Kananki broke in the Dominican Republic, I'm sure alarm bells went off. But TJ, it's good to have you with me on the program tonight. First of all, a little bit of breaking news. You've actually spoken with Sadiq's family. I think you got a hold of Sadiq's mom on Saturday. Yeah, tell me what you discussed.
I gave her, after I spoke to her, she was with the sheriff in Virginia when I called. And I sent her all my contact information, and I have not heard from her. And ironically, the sheriff in Virginia now is on the same page with me, thinking that she didn't drown. He's suspecting this guy that she was with, there's something going on with him. And ironically, if I was there with them, I have a system called layered voice analysis that law enforcement uses and the federal government. And I'm the only private investigator in the country licensed to use it. I can take his transmission of his interview in any language, and I can tell you if he's lying or hiding something. And
how is that? So that I'm curious about, and I'll tell you why, TJ, because whenever these cases break in a country where there is a different language and investigators speak a different language, there is so much room for misinterpretation, mistakes, then miscommunications of that information. I mean, it is like a game of telephone tag. So I want to be very clear. When these authorities said he's given multiple versions of these events, I want to give the benefit of the doubt to say there's a drunk guy who, if he's telling the truth, woke up, the girl had left, and he's remembering things with a hangover and adding things. Wait, I think I did see her coming out of the surf. So are we all accommodating for that when we all, throw these statements out there from the Dominican authorities that multiple versions of the event were told?
One of the things that I did when I went to Aruba, I hired somebody local that knew everybody that spoke their language, and I took him around with me. And he showed me places and showed me people and told me who was who and be able to talk to them. And that way I was able to communicate and learn information from people that were local. So it's real important. You've got to communicate. I communicated with law enforcement, and I met with the FBI. And I showed them the voice analysis, and they said they don't even allow the polygraph in Aruba. So I said, well, that's fine. I don't even have to tell the person that I'm in front of. I can do this over the phone, live, from a recording or whatever, and I can tell you what's going on with them. It's incredible. An Israeli firm developed this software, and I have it for the whole U.S. for law enforcement and corporate security to sell it and service it. And I would have taken it down there and used it. And I may still contact the sheriff here and see if he'll communicate with me of my 47 years of law enforcement and be able to maybe help them from here, even though I'm not there.
Definitely let us know. Tell us if he takes you up on that offer. I want to know if they start to employ that kind of technology. Right. And again, that would be for investigative purposes. It's not something that would ever hold up in court. Even lie detectors can't be used in a court of law. If this ever gets to a court of law, I want to put the brakes on, you know.
Yeah,
right. It's a focus tool. It gets the investigators going in a direction. So I just wanted to ask you about these surveillance. Yeah, can you tell me about the surveillance videos? I mean, I've been glued to these all day, trying to pick up any clue that I can. I do not have the investigator's mind. What do you see when you see these videos?
Well, I can see they're intoxicated and he's walking. Looks like he is taking a video of them walking together. But here's one thing that bothers me. He's claiming that she drowned, that she may have drowned. Why did he wait so many hours to contact somebody and tell them about what was going on with her or where she was? Why is it several hours? If he knew something happened to her, why didn't he do it immediately? Even though he was intoxicated and he had passed out, when he woke up, he should have found out where she was. And it's just too much time in between when he last saw her and the time that he went to law enforcement or to the hotel or whoever he told and got law enforcement involved. But there's something just not right about what's going on with him, and I would love to do a background on him and all. I wish the family would listen to me and let me raise money. Yes, to go down there.
I will say this, TJ. I will say this. Just he's not charged with anything, and just as the other side of the coin, if someone wakes up and the girl they were with has left. I think what he said, if I've read the transcript right, and who knows if it's correct, that he thought she had left. By the time 10 a.m. rolled around and drunk the night before, woke up on the beach alone, he thought that she had left, which would not be an unusual thing as well if that's where his mindset was. But again, it would be good to see this interrogation if it was on video. Right. I have to leave it there. TJ Ward, thank you so much. Will you join me again and definitely keep me posted if the Sheriff's Office takes you up on using that technology? Appreciate that. I want to read for our viewers real quickly something that Beth Holloway gave to us today. It is a statement. She wasn't ready to go on television and talk about this. This is very painful for her to sort of hear something like this, given what she has gone through in her life, losing her daughter Natalie. This is what Beth Holloway said. The family is so fortunate to have an American embassy there to work with. I did not have that in Aruba. Surely they are checking cameras from hotel, gas stations, traffic lights, storefronts, and wherever they had dinner, any casinos they visited, the beach areas. I have created the full circle safety plan for travelers and just citizens of all ages to remind them to spend as much time planning the end of their outing as they do planning where to go, what to wear, and who they are going with. By planning the end of the outing, they can decide where and what time to meet, how to leave together, and make a conscious and deliberate plan to stay safe. This is a good opportunity for me to bring in someone who knows exactly how the FBI operates when a situation like this is in a foreign country. Robert D'Amico is a retired FBI supervisory special agent. Robert, thank you so much for being on. You know, we got the confirmation from the sheriff last night on this show that the FBI is indeed now involved in the case. Can you take it from there and tell me what that looks like? Are they on the ground? What are they doing? How are they aligned? What part do they play? Like, fill me in on all of it.
So teams coming out of Miami, that's their extraterritorial squad area, and they're used to doing overseas investigations. So they're very good at working with foreign police departments. So they're going to come in. Again, you have to understand it's their investigation. You don't want to be too overbearing on things, but you really want to get into the heart of the investigation. You do want to talk to him. I mean, that's the biggest thing. You talked about the communication gaps in there. So you want an American to sit down and really talk to him so that he's understanding the questions. And you brought up some great points about him being drunk. All his statements, he does say that she was alive when he passed out or went to the beach. Even though there's three variants of it, they're a little bit different. They're kind of separate, which would give me some issues. And you really kind of want to work those stories out with him on what he knows. Because, again, spring break, he's drunk. He stumbles out there. They both kind of stumble out there. And then he comes back. It's 4 hours later. He doesn't have a shirt. He doesn't have his shoes. I would be looking for those, too. I mean, what happened to his shirt and shoes? Did they end up in the ocean? Were they on the ground out there somewhere? But in looking at that, the FBI is going to come in. They're going to probably take his phone for digital evidence. Hopefully he'll allow them to access it by giving the code. If not, the local law enforcement may be able to turn it over to the FBI.
Robert, I have to wrap it here, but I've got to ask you this because there's two things that we've been able to corroborate in his story. Number one, that it was really rough and that the waves were huge. We got video that day of the red flags out there and the waves crashing into shore while people were trying to swim. So that part is proven. We also have corroboration that they had been drinking a lot because the stumbling, I mean, it's pretty clear from the video that this looks like a group that's had a lot to drink. The guy is even carrying a drink, the guy in question. And we're not naming him because he's not charged at this time. But I need to ask you one last question, and that is this. And I have to make it 5 seconds here. But if the FBI is involved in the case, he is not charged. He is not a suspect. If he were, and if it were so dire, wouldn't the FBI be on it now? And wouldn't that be a different story?
It would. It would be if they had more evidence in that and he was detained down there, you'd read him his rights. They would come in and they really start taking over the investigation to the point. They have to be very careful about that right now. You want a chain of custody of all the evidence, and you want his statements to be able to stand up in court if he makes them.
Yeah, I just want to be sure because with the Natalie Holloway story, we don't know if this person is guilty of anything. Certainly isn't charged. If he is, his life is over. If he isn't and his name gets out there, his life could be over anyway, just the way the internet can be. So I just want to be very fair in the reporting on this. Really appreciate this, Robert. Will you come back again?
Absolutely.
Robert D'Amico joining us tonight. Still to come, we've got lots ahead on the show. I also want to remind you, if you want to learn more about stories like this, check out my Drop Dead Serious podcast. I cover this stuff all the time. Check out the QR code, available wherever you get your true crime fix. But just ahead, some breaking news tonight with Lyle and Eric Menendez. The governor of California says the brothers are headed for a parole board hearing. You heard it right. Going to tell you when that's happening, how it's happening, what it all means. Their lawyer is live with me next.
Calm. Download the free app now.
Breaking news tonight in the Menendez brothers case. California Governor Gavin Newsom has announced that Lyle and Eric will be appearing before the Parole Board of California on June 13th. The governor made the announcement just hours ago on his iHeartRadio podcast.
On June 13th, both Lyle and Eric Menendez independently will have their final hearing. A report then will be submitted to me on the 13th of June for consideration. We will submit that report to the judge for the resentencing, and that will weigh into our independent analysis of whether or not to move forward with the clemency application to support a commutation of this case.
The good news for the Menendez brothers, who were left reeling yesterday after the LA District Attorney Nathan Hochman announced that he was pulling the support of the DA's office for that much hoped for resentencing. Hochman said he wasn't even going to consider backing their sentencing or their resentencing unless they came clean about 16 things he called their unacknowledged lies. He said those lies include saying that the killings were self-defense, saying that their father drugged and raped a friend of theirs, saying that they didn't plan their alibi ahead of time, and saying that Eric's therapist blackmailed them into confessing. And what does Team Menendez say? The brothers' lead attorney, Mark Garagos, says, and I quote, every single one of those things that Hochman mentioned was either abandoned or was cross-examined in the first trial. This gentleman, this DA, re-traumatizes the family repeatedly. He's almost serially abusing them with his litany of lies. One of the brothers' cousins sent a letter to the U.S. Attorney's Office asking that the DA be removed from the case, saying that he was, quote, hostile, dismissive, and patronizing to the family during 2 meetings that they had back in January. Today, our Brian Enton got an exclusive interview with the acting U.S. attorney for the Central District of California. And Brian asked whether he considered the family's request. Take a look.
The Menendez family sent a letter to your office saying that their victims' rights have been violated and asking you to look into the DA. Is that something that you plan to do?
I'm not going to comment on that. I'm not familiar enough with the facts of the facts and circumstances there. But anytime we receive something from the public, we'll look at it. What I will say that generally, crime victim rights, the federal statute applies to federal criminal cases, but we'll obviously review anything that we get from members of the public.
I'm joined now by Alexandra Kazarian, member of Lyle and Eric's defense team and senior trial attorney at Garagos and Garagos. Oh, boy, do I have a lot to ask you. Let me just start with the way the governor laid out this hearing that both of the boys, now men, have with the parole board. I thought it meant the track for governor's clemency, but he mentioned the resentencing. So can you set it straight? What does this mean? What does this hearing that Lyle and Eric will both have separately mean for two of the tracks that they're on towards freedom?
Sure. So I think that the governor's trying to take a new approach with clemency. I think he's trying to create his own path that hasn't really been forged before. And it seems like he's using Eric and Lyle to forge that path. What he has ordered is a public risk assessment. And so he wants to know, he wants to look inside of their brains, basically. He wants to look at their history. He wants to look at the people that they are right now, which is exactly what resentencing is about. Resentencing is about, are you different than the person that you were when you were convicted? Have you spent enough time in custody to actually be rehabilitated? And are you a risk to the public if you're released? So what he has ordered is a risk assessment, and it's a very involved process that is going to take into account how the family feels and how they have been rehabilitated, all of their efforts since then, all of the things that it is very, very obvious that Nathan Hochman has absolutely no interest in. Nathan Hochman has made it very clear that he is interested in keeping the conviction in place. He and the people that he is representing, who are the district attorneys who were involved in the first trial, are very, very interested in retribution and in punishment. And the governor, in stepping in, has said, hold on, nobody's paying attention to the rehabilitation, so I am going to do that. And then the judge can take that report and can assess that.
So that's what I want to know. When I was listening to the governor, he said, this will happen on June 13th, and the day after I get the report back. And I thought, wow, that's fast. And then he said, and I will submit it to the judge for resentencing. I thought the governor was going to say, and I will make my decision on clemency. So the judge has to make the decision if there'll be a resentencing. The governor has to make a decision if he's just going to give all out clemency. So where are we with that? Like, could clemency happen on June 14th? Or if the 13th report is good, which I assume it will be, the parole board's going to be a good hearing. They've been great in prison. What happens exactly with the governor on June 14th?
I mean, that's up to the governor, and we'll find out. Now, we do have the resentencing here still set for the 20th and the 21st. It hasn't been taken off calendar yet. So we could go forward on the 20th and 21st. We could start it and then continue it. There's a lot of different options that can happen. But if the resentencing hasn't been completed by the time that his risk assessment has, then the judge will have the opportunity to look at that. But, the judge may not need that. The judge may hear evidence before then, have a hearing before then, and decide that he can make his decision without that. But it's a great tool to have. Obviously, all of us that support the brothers know that it is going to be a great report. And, it's wonderful that the governor has stepped in to do that, because the DA's office obviously has no interest in looking at the rehabilitation. Yeah. So
let me ask you this. I'm 10 seconds over, but I have got to find out from you. The DA said yesterday, all the boys need to do is apologize and admit to these 16 lies. They called them 16 lies. Is that something that Eric and Lyle Menendez might consider doing?
He is a control freak. Sorry, but he is not interested in rehabilitation. He's not interested in that, because those are lies. Those are not truths.
Oh, no. Oh, no, we just lost Alexandra. We just lost you right in the middle of what you said, and I'm over. But I'm taking that your answer is no. They will not admit to what he's asking them to admit to.
I'm not even responding to that because it's not a real thing. It's not a real thing at all. He is being a control freak. He's saying explosive things on camera so that you and other people, no slight to you, but so that it will be repeated on camera and that he's getting more FaceTime because of it. But it's not a real thing. He's talking about things from the first trial where they weren't even convicted and where they were exposed and they were cross-examined and they did come out and admit that they were lying about those things. Those are all issues that have been dealt with, and the jury in the first trial rejected the prosecution's theory, and he's being a hypocrite. Okay. Because if they were victims, then he would be saying that, of course, victims of sexual violence don't tell the truth the first time because they're traumatized.
Thank you for that yes or no answer, but now I'm a minute over. So I have to say goodbye. I want to have you back. Alexandra, thank you so much. I appreciate this. Alexandra Kazarian joining us, and we nearly lost her for a minute there. Still to come, it has been almost a month since a hospital nurse in Florida was so brutally attacked by a patient that nearly every bone in her face was broken. The man was known to be a threat to himself or others, and now we have one of the many red flags. A chilling 911 call from the patient himself just before the attack. You'll hear it next.
It's because it's a buffet of all-you-can-eat butterfly shrimp and sirloin steak.
Yeah, that's the reason. I don't get it.
Do you have any idea how much this would cost at other restaurants?
Not really. I'm only 6.
A lot, honey. A lot, kiddo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We have more tonight on a heartbreaking case out of Florida. A 67-year-old nurse at a Palm Beach hospital mercilessly attacked by a patient who was there on a psych hold. Leilama Lal was beaten so badly that nearly every bone in her face was broken. She couldn't breathe on her own, and she may lose her sight forever. Her alleged attacker is Stephen Scantlebury, and just hours before being admitted to Leila's hospital, he called 911 with feelings of paranoia. Here's the call.
911, what's your emergency? It's a house or an apartment?
It's a house.
What's the emergency?
That's 4. Hello.
Yes, sir. You called 911. What's wrong?
The call is partially redacted over privacy laws, but Scantlebury's wife would later confirm that he was paranoid. And police did show up. They met him and his family at a Dunkin' Donuts, but Scantlebury was said to be belligerent and refused their help. After the meeting with police, though, he walked to Palms West Hospital complaining of chest pain. His family says they told the staff about his erratic behavior, and the staff saw for themselves after Scantlebury reportedly jumped off a CAT scan machine and ran down the hall. I spoke with the nurse's daughter, who is a doctor. Just a week after the attack, we had this conversation, and here's how the family's attorney described hospital security.
HCA made a conscious decision to hire untrained, unarmed, and an inadequate number of security personnel to handle their entire hospital, Palms West Hospital. And they put them on the first floor only. I believe there was only one security officer for the entire hospital. And Leila and the perpetrator were up on the 3rd floor with no security whatsoever anywhere in sight. This was not a Baker Act facility. The employees were not trained on how to deal with violent, aggressive perpetrators like this gentleman was. He was exhibiting aggressive behavior from the moment he walked into Palms West Hospital. They had every opportunity to get him out of there to a Baker Act facility that could have handled him properly. And they didn't do so in a timely fashion.
Tonight, I am happy to report that nurse Leila Lal is no longer intubated, but she still has a long road to recovery. I want to bring in Dave Ehrenberg, a former state attorney for Palm Beach County and friend of the show. Dave, such a disturbing series of facts. Is the hospital in trouble here? Because the family seem to do everything. They seem to tell the hospital, tell the police, he's paranoid, he's troubled, and yet this happened.
Ashleigh, the hospital is definitely in trouble civilly, not criminally, but civilly, because they owe their patients and their staff a duty of care. So they could face a major negligence lawsuit. In fact, the family has already hired some prominent personal injury lawyers who are good at
Oh, no, I think we have another freeze. I think we've got bugaboos in our system tonight. Can you hear me, Dave? Because we just lost you.
Yes.
Sort of mid-answer, but then I think you came back. It's the second time it's happened tonight. I'm so sorry. Let me jump to something else, and that is that Scantlebury reportedly refused help when the police came. There was a call. There was that 911 call. The family met the police at a Dunkin' Donuts, and is it just as simple as that? He refuses help, they can do nothing? I mean, he's clearly far more troubled than just being able to refuse help.
Well, he was Baker acted. You know, the police decided apparently he was not enough of a threat to himself or others at the time. So then he voluntarily checked himself into the hospital for an unrelated condition. I think it was chest pains. And then at the hospital Baker acted him because they saw that he was acting crazy. And so they were on notice. And yet they allowed him to be in a room with this nurse without any security anywhere nearby. So yes, they're in a lot of trouble civilly, not criminally. This guy's in a lot of trouble criminally. And although he may say that he is mentally ill and thus should avoid consequences, the stuff he said afterwards, the racial epithets about her Indian heritage, will come back to haunt him in this case. It may even enhance his charge to first-degree murder.
Wow. Well, we know there's a hate charge. I have to wrap it. Can you just tell me one thing, and that is in 5 seconds, competency. Is he going to even be competent to get into a courtroom?
That's a big question. They're going to judge whether he is fit to stand trial, whether he can assist with the defense and knows what's happening around him. So that's going to be a big question for prosecutors at the next stage of this trial.
Dave Ehrenberg, thanks so much for your insight. Appreciate it. Good to see you.
Thank you, Ashleigh.
Lori Vallow coming up, making big demands of a judge, and he wasn't having any of it. Going to tell you what her beef is and a little about that fashion she's wearing, too. And later, how Scott Peterson plus pickleball plus prison, maybe not a good combo. Tell you why. Both those stories next. I should say up front that I was surprised that Lori Vallow was dead set against cameras in the courtroom when she faces two upcoming trials in Arizona. That so-called doomsday cult mom, who's already serving life in prison in Idaho for the murders of her 2 kids and also the wife of her 5th husband. She never exactly struck me as someone who didn't love the attention, at least like it. But one of her first big moves after being allowed to represent herself in court was to kick those cameras out of court. And today, the judge held a hearing on that. And lucky for all of us who value open public justice in America, her motion was denied. Vallow's 2 separate murder conspiracy trials will not only be open to cameras, they will be live streamed. But Team Vallow, which is to say Lori, had a comeback for that too. And yes, it was on camera. Take a look.
Your Honor?
Yep.
Could I just add that we want to make sure that the camera's not going to be zooming in at any level to get to our notes and the things that are going to be on the table. I also previously, what has happened before is that they just have the camera on my face the entire trial. So I think when the judge is speaking, the judge needs to be on the camera. When the state is speaking, they need to be on camera. If we can add that to the order.
No. You're not a director, Lori. I'm joined now by Lauren Mathias. She was in that courtroom today, sitting just a few chairs away from Lori Vallow. I don't know if your head was exploding like mine was, but describe the courtroom today. Describe Lori and her demeanor, everything in that courtroom today.
Oh, she was really done up, I want to point out, too. Her hair was curled with a curling iron, not the little braids you see the night before. She had lipstick on. She had mascara on. She had eyeliner on. She smiled at the gallery. And then my favorite thing, Ashleigh, her prison jumpsuit, she's not in street clothes today, right? Her prison jumpsuit was to the side. It was down below her shoulders, sort of. You could see a little strap, and I'm telling you, I think she did it on purpose. So I'm with you. I find it very fascinating that she is not wanting cameras in the courtroom and arguing against them when she came, really assuming that we were all looking at her and really making sure that she looked the part, even if she was wearing a orange, jumpsuit. She was making sure that she looked her best.
Let me ask that double question here as we look at this picture with the off-the-shoulder number going on. I get it. Lori is handcuffed. Even if she's going to play lawyer, she still has to be handcuffed because she's still inmate. But at the beginning of the hearing, the clothing is up on her shoulder. And as the hearing went on, the bra is showing and it's an off-the-shoulder number. Is it an accident? And again, I will give her this deference in that she is shackled at the feet and she is shackled at the hands. So it's not like she can adjust her wardrobe that easily. But what was your read on that?
Fair enough, but I absolutely think she could have adjusted this. I mean, also, I think she probably had to even rip that or cut that in the back. I mean, have you seen a neck that large? Do you think they're going to make necks that large in prison? I don't know. Look, we'll never know. But to wear that matching strap too, I have my suspicions.
Okay, next question. There was a dig from the prosecutors. I don't know the exact wording, but it seemed as though they mentioned something about needing a real lawyer, meaning whatever she was arguing, the state seemed like it might have been a little exhausted by all of this and the fact that the lady over there is not a real lawyer. Can you describe how that actually went down and how the state put that dig on the record?
Yeah, it happened multiple times, what we would probably call almost shade towards Lori Vallow, or Lori Daybell, excuse me, where they sort of said, look, we're going to need longer for this trial. We said a couple weeks, and if it were a regular defense attorney, we'd have a couple weeks, but we don't have a regular defense attorney. We have her over here. Take a look. And so we're going to need twice as long, 3 times as long. There were multiple comments like that over and over. We don't have a real defense attorney. We have the defendant and look, if it was me, we could get this done, but this is going to take a long time.
Okay, 10 seconds and that's it. Was she different today? Is she actually doing well as an attorney? Is she aggressive? Give her a grade, 1 to 10.
Aggressive, defiant. I would give her a 5. I think she was maybe a 6 last time. I was kind of impressed last time. She came off a lot more aggressive today. Not a good look.
What about knowledgeable? 1 to 10.
6, 7. Better than I thought. Is that fair?
All right. Yeah, all right. Well, I'm going to have to keep you grading this because this is fascinating stuff. And lucky for you and me, we'll have the cameras and we can do that. Thank you, Lauren Mathias.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Ash.
Okay, I don't know what prison pastimes are popular in Idaho or Arizona, but pickleball is all the rage in California, including at the Mule Creek State Prison, which, as you will know, is the home of convicted wife killer Scott Peterson. And at Mule Creek, they apparently play pretty rough. TMZ is reporting that Peterson was beaten up the other day by a fellow inmate after hitting the ball directly at that inmate on the pickleball court. The word is that Scott Peterson was not badly hurt, but the prison officials did confirm to the Banfield show that there was indeed a run-in. Here's what they told us, and I will read it for you. On Sunday, March 9th, 2025, Scott Peterson was involved in an incident with another person at Mule Creek State Prison and suffered minor injuries. He continues to be housed at the institution. That's it. That's as much as we could get from the institution itself. But hey, look, I'll take it. They at least copped to the fact that he was injured. Whether anybody's pickleball privileges or any other privileges were revoked, I'm sorry, we don't know that. Still trying to get that. But either way, in prison or on the playground, it is a little reminder. It is always better to play nice. You could get yourself into a pickle otherwise. Quick reminder again, if you got nothing to do, and even if you're busy doing something, pop on your AirPods or your earphones and check out my Drop Dead Serious podcast. I have a 1-hour conversation